Today, the White House in hot water for the free crack pipe plan, and they walk it back. Also, a leftist fan favorite gets criticized for saying she loves being a woman. You're not allowed to say that these days. We've got that and much more coming up today, and it all starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, and I just have to say it is going to be a fun one today. Hold on to your butts, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Elijah Schaffer in the house from Slightly Offensive upstairs. Also, you are here behind me.
Yes, and I've only used half my regular dosage of methamphetamines before your show.
Really?
Yeah, so we'll at least have half the energy I normally give, but we're ready to go.
That's great.
I found out drugs apparently
Did you get
are
it from
the federal government.
Yeah.
Biden gave me a pipe, and I was like, gotta use it, can't abuse it.
Also joined, this is a wonderful surprise this week. We are also joined by our good friend, Zubi. Tell me again how to, Udezweyu.
You tried.
Did I say it?
You tried.
How do you say it?
Udezwe.
Udezwe. Oh, man, that was really bad.
Didn't know there was a racist on the set.
Visionary commentator and rapper, because Elijah told me that was a...
Well, visionary, because...
He really is.
Well, because, I mean, like, that's why I follow you. I mean, I found out the rap music and everything after, but it's like, because he's got a vision for the world.
He really
and a way
does.
to see it, and I like his vision.
Well, if Zubi was in charge of things, we would, let me tell you,
I don't want
we'd
that kind of
be
power.
in a way different situation.
Better, too.
Way better situation.
No crack pipes.
Well, I don't know.
Well,
that's up to Zubi.
Yes?
Not free.
Everything has a price. We're trying to run a business here, and that business is the federal government. So speaking of the crack pipes, we've covered this on the show. I'm sure you guys have talked about it as well. This plan surfaced through this federal grant program, a $30 million grant program, by the way, that the Department of Health and Human Services was planning to implement, and they were going to include handing out crack pipes to drug addicts. So just as a refresher, because this has kind of gone through a lot of scrutiny in the last couple days, this was included in the plan. Snopes came out and said once it was reported by places like the Washington Free Beacon, the Blaze got a hold of the story as well, but I think the Washington Free Beacon was the one who originally wrote about it. But Snopes said, look, it's mostly false because, yes, it is actually, there is a line in the program that does say that they will distribute free crack pipes, but that wasn't the actual priority. That was not one of the priorities of the grant program. Therefore, this is mostly false. And Elijah, I feel like you are a great expert, a fact-checking expert when it comes to things like this, because you are actually a certified fact checker.
Yeah, you know, obviously the organization, it's abbreviated, but the actual full name is like the Fact Checking Association Global, which is, you know, usually it's a acronym, but I'm not going to say that on your show. But we are all Fact Checking Association globalists here, and we are part of an association where we essentially enlighten the world, and it makes me really happy because, you know, just today I saw that someone pointed out the same thing, that hey, you know, it's kind of weird that we had more excess deaths after the vaccines rolled out than we did before, and then this is their claim, YouTube, they were like, this must mean that the vaccines killed people, and AP comes out and goes, okay, hold up, you're right, there were more excess deaths, but it's actually because of delayed medical screenings, not because of the vaccines. The vaccines are actually the most safe and effective thing ever, which we've talked about this.
Right.
You should, you know, you should be sexually pleasured by them. You should maybe divorce your spouse and marry one. They're the complete part of life. You know, they're the bottom of the food pyramid. They're everything you need and more, sustenance. And they come out and just make this claim, right, that it is actually because of delayed screenings. Don't provide any evidence. Don't provide any studies. Don't provide any data. Just look, you're wrong. And fact checkers have gotten into a really place that I know the world asked for, where they've begun to fact check the truth and explain to you why your truth is not really the regime truth, and therefore you're wrong, even if your truth is
even
reality.
If you're right.
Even if you're living
even
in
if
reality,
you're wrong.
If it doesn't fit the regime's version of what they want you to think, you're actually not really true.
Right.
And I got to praise them for that, because that takes a certain level of to be a person that actually would write something like that in public. It's true. I mean,
it is true. Well, so then they added another. Actually, I shouldn't say they added another. They just kind of replaced the mostly false with outdated because they said, well, now we've gotten notification from the Department of Health and Human Services, and they say that they are not including it now. So, therefore, this claim is outdated now, not mostly false. So, doing their best to cover for the administration. But Jen Psaki was asked about it today. And, gentlemen, I want to get your thoughts on her answer. Watch.
HHS just put out a statement clarifying around some reports that crack pipes would be part of the safe smoking kits that are funded by the administration. But can you clarify for us, were they never a part of the kit, or were they removed in response to this reporting and this pushback?
They were never a part of the kit. It was inaccurate reporting, and we wanted to put out information to make that clear.
What is in the safe smoking kit?
A safe smoking kit may contain alcohol swabs, lip balm, other materials to promote hygiene and reduce the transmission of diseases like HIV and hepatitis. I would note that what we're really talking about here is steps that we're taking as a federal government to address the opioid epidemic.
So it's just that literally it said in the report, these kits will provide pipes for users to smoke crack cocaine, crystal methamphetamine, and any illicit substance. By the way, it also includes needles, clean needles. So
he's excited.
It's like
you guys have a wild country.
It's so, and then they just say that, and they're like, no, it's not true.
Politics is weird everywhere. But in the U.S. in particular, some of the stories I'm just like, how is this real? This seems like a South Park episode or something. The federal government handing out free crack pipes. I mean, it blows my mind. You know, like in the UK, where I'm from, yeah, you know, there's silly stuff that happens sometimes, but something like this is not. It's not fathomable. Only in the U.S. do you? Yeah, it's so weird. I'm watching this and I'm just like, Is this real?
This is a real question that just had to be asked of the administration. Well, I know, we talk frequently on the program about who is actually pulling Joe Biden's strings, who is, the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, because it's obviously not Joe Biden. I think we just found out that it must be Hunter. If this is the program that the administration, they want to provide free crack pipes to people, it must be Hunter Biden who's pulling the strings.
True, but Hunter Biden's probably passed out somewhere with like a 17-year-old in another country, I'm just going to say. But on top of that, we spoke earlier about how when you look at Biden from just 10 years ago, it almost looks like they've swapped him out. I mean, you made that point, that it's alarming. And what's even crazier is that I was reading another fact check like this where they just kind of switched the reality. And basically, what they were fact-checking was what was implied from a study. Basically, someone said, well, I derived this sort of conclusion. They go, well, your conclusion isn't the same conclusion we derived, even though these are just implications, meaning these are just ideas that we, sort of like perspectives that we gained from a study. You're no longer allowed to have your own perspective. And then when you have on paper even more saying, no, look, we're showing you that you guys were trying to give crack pipes to people. You guys were this was a part of what you're doing. And this is not an insane thing. I mean, this is common in cities in America, specifically San Francisco, Portland, et cetera, giving out these free needles and free ways to use drugs, no penalties at all. They just go, which I like, reminds me of the way I handle my problems. Someone just asks me and I just go, no. Nope, it's not true. And they're like, no, you literally wrote it. It's a denial until death. But it works. It really does work. Because then they just move on, and the media covers and shows for them, and then we're the opposition media, and then we try to get it out, and then the tech companies come in and go, oh, well, some media companies are covering the story and we don't like it. Well, then we'll suppress their content so that the only content that remains when you search up crack pipes is that it was false, it was untrue, and everyone believes the lie.
Yeah, I mean, really and truly, a spokesman for the agency confirmed to the Free Beacon that these were included. I mean, a spokesman confirmed it, and yet you don't have the reporter who asked the original question coming back with anything. It's just like, is this true? No. Okay.
I think the truth is that censorship and manipulation and all of these things exist in every country. Some places are just more sophisticated than others. I tell this to people as someone who travels a lot. So if you go to developing countries, so-called third world countries, the type of censorship and manipulation and corruption and all that, it's very in your face. It's very in your face, very obvious to notice. But then if you're in the West, you're in the UK, you're in the USA, whatever, it still goes on. It's just a lot more slick and sophisticated and harder to put your finger on exactly who is doing it and who's behind it. But they're still there playing 1984 style Ministry of Truth and using the government and the media and certain corporations all together to play it however they want.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I want to move on to this one story before we have to go to break. Adele, Grammy Award-winning singer Adele. Everyone knows Adele. She is, of course, also a leftist fan favorite. She is being slammed by leftists for admitting that you guys, I cannot believe that she dared say this. She said that she loves being a woman at the Brit Awards when she was accepting Artist of the Year. So what they did with Artist of the Year, they merged two different awards that was Best Male and Best Female. Well, they can't say that anymore these days. So they merged them. And when Adele was saying, you know, she said, I understand why the name of this award has changed, but I really love being a woman and being a female artist. I do. I'm really proud of us. I really, really am. And I think they're trying to cancel her now.
I'm going to walk off your set. If you say that kind of egregious stuff, Sarah, I like to think of you as a man, you know, as we're all one.
What? No.
You know?
I don't want to be a man.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I spent too much time on TikTok. No, but it's like, I mean, like, can we get a camera shot on Zuby for a second? Can we get a shot on Zuby? Can we get a shot on Sarah? All right. Two lovely people, both good looking in their own way. No, not a lot of similarities, I would say. I would just say, yeah, there you go. I mean, like, you know, the idea of this, that the men and women can't be different, that we can't have strengths and weaknesses, that there can't be this ability to understand, for instance, that like a woman will be appreciated differently for how she sings and how she presents music and a man, et cetera. And the fact that a woman just says something as simple in the end of like, I love being a woman. I mean, I don't think I could have predicted years ago that a woman being proud of being a successful woman in the world's terms would be ridiculed by the world. Point taken, never go by the world's narratives. Don't try to please the world, and don't even be a part of the system. Like, I think that's what you're realizing with J.K. Rowling, with Adele. I mean, if you're a woman and you're successful, it's changed so quickly that now they want men that look like women to be the leaders of all
And this is the real misogyny. Just like we were talking about what the actual white supremacy is earlier on your show, this is the true misogyny. The word misogyny gets thrown around a lot, right? But if you want to talk about actual misogyny and demeaning women, or even literally attempting to erase them, wipe them out of existence, and not even use the term woman and refer to them as people with vaginas or uterus carriers or whatever the heck they're calling them. And notice this is all targeted at women, by the way. No one's ever called me a sausage carrier or a sperm creator or whatever it is, right?
I mean, I never thought about it, but I kind of want to use that now.
A sausage carrier?
Sausage carrier.
You know, it's on your mind. She's hungry for lunch. Barbecue.
But it's always these dehumanizing terms are always aimed at women. Birthing person, like it's all menstruators. It's always aimed at women. And you know, Adele literally says a completely benign sentence, and now and it'll be dudes. It'll be like weird dudes on the left who are taking an issue with that.
Well, so here's one. We have an example of some weird dude from the left who said, please no, Adele can't be a TERF. That last comment, though ambiguous, could be perceived as TERFy. Please no, which of course, for those of you who don't know, TERF is trans-exclusionary radical feminist. So obviously you can't be a feminist and not embrace all the men who want to erase you.
Well, what about this? I mean, I know that you see their names always. I feel so bad sometimes for like regular gay people who are just they're like just gay people and they're just minding their own damn business. Like I genuinely sometimes feel bad because it's like Dave Chappelle said, where he said like it's the T people that are really causing the problem. Like it's one thing to try to make an argument literally of like, oh yeah, like you know what two consenting adults do in the bedroom, but they don't just consent and do in the bedroom these kinds of things. They bring it out into the public and they say that if you don't accept me, then you're a bigot. But then what defines me is constantly changing to where I can't even keep up with it. That now it's like they've gone to where you have to accept gay people to where you have to believe that men can literally become women, which is objectionably false. And it's like you see their titles, they have the gay flag in their bio. dude, that flag's outdated. You're already a bigot. Haven't you seen the new flag? Where's your BIPOC? Where's the black and brown? Where's the circle?
Yeah. That's a great point. Yeah. I feel bad just before we go to break, I feel bad that Adele, I think they're going to red pill all of these people because remember Adele lost all that weight and they were pissed off at her for that too. They were like, how dare she? She thinks she's better. You can't be skinny now. What you think that being skinny makes you better? I mean, they lost their minds that she dared care about her health.
Again,
I know.
Always targeted at women.
Yes.
Always targeted at women. I've noticed this.
You're right.
Yeah, because men getting buffed, they're always like, look at the transformation of Tom Holland to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And it's like, woo! And they're like, yo, this girl finally has some self-confidence and like got control of her weight, which is hard to do when you've been fat your whole life. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, actually, you're a bigot.
Tear her down. Tear her down.
Homophobic, fatphobe.
It's crazy. I mean, but I'm like, you guys keep showing these people who you really are because as many people as you want to red pill, we will take. All right, we've got to go take a break real quick. Let's thank our sponsor, Built Bar, first. So speaking of being healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if Adele actually ate Built Bar when she was losing all of that weight and continues to stay looking fit and trim because Built Bar, as you guys know, many of you who have gone out and bought the Built Bar and now it's taking over your pantries because you can't stop eating them. They're so good. They are protein bars, so they've got the low calories, they've got the high protein, they're high in fiber, which is great, and they're low in sugar, but they taste like you're eating a candy bar. I don't know how they do it. It might be magic, it might be witchcraft. It's a kind of witchcraft I'm on board with, quite frankly, because they are delicious, but you're not going to expand your waistline. So you can go to Built.com, choose from a bunch of their different flavors. They're all great, but pick the ones. You get a mix box. You can get a couple of each of their flavors and figure out which ones you like the best, and then you can pack your pantry full of them like I do. Go to Built.com, use promo code NEWS15. You'll save 15% off of your order. That is NEWS15 over at Built.com. The school district we covered in upstate New York released a statement suggesting that the father who was violently dragged out of a school board meeting by a security guard, I like to call him the skinnier Paul Blart. They said the security guard, look, the security guard had a right to do all of this because this maskless man, this menace to society was not being civil. Obviously. So for those of you who missed it, let me go ahead and replay this maskless man. How dare he? How dare he not wear a mask and sit there minding his own business at a school board meeting for schools that he pays taxes for? Watch.
They found him. We're in America. Oh, time to look at this. Look at this. Look. What are you doing? What the are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Is this how you treat
our children?
What are you
doing?
Do you put your hands on the
Holy
children like
crap.
that too, sir?
Holy crap. That's assault. That is assault. Oh my God.
Is that what they're doing to the children?
Oh my God.
Doing that to the children too?
Holy what the are you doing? What are you doing? Officer, do something about that.
So they released a statement that said, we strive to hold Board of Education meetings in public in order to inform the community of activities going on in our schools. Those meetings can only occur when everyone in attendance acts in a civil manner, which clearly this dangerous man was not acting in a civil manner. I would probably call him a terrorist for the mere fact that he was sitting there, breathing fresh oxygen and listening quietly to these yeah, I said it, sorry, control room, talking about wasting their money in schools to teach children how to do things like have oral sex, which we'll get to later on in the program. How dare he? How dare he?
People are losing it. Some people have really lost their minds, yes. Honestly. And what's crazy about this stuff is, and I know especially over the past 2 years, most people have not been traveling very much.
Right.
I've been to dozens of cities and 8 different countries over the past 2 years, and this psychosis is everywhere. It's not with every single person, but whatever city or country you go to some degree, you see this new level of psychosis from people just doing basic things, showing their face in public, breathing fresh air, wanting to walk in certain directions,
Right.
and it's maniacal, because when you see stuff like this, it's so obvious that it's not about a virus. Even for people who maybe initially thought it was, if you were scared of a virus, like, why would you go get in that person's face and start putting your hands on them and all of that? If you were genuinely concerned about a virus and you thought, ooh, I'm afraid of that guy because he doesn't have a mask, what you'd do is you'd move further away.
Right.
If that was that's not a rational fear, but if that were your fear, you'd move further away. You wouldn't get in his face and have an altercation. This is just authoritarianism and a show of power and people wanting to conform, coerce, bully. It's all of that mindset. It's the same with, like, see what's going on in Canada? It's not got to do with a virus. Nothing to do with a virus. They're just trying to exert, it's just a power battle. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen even where, well, it's happened in multiple places, but I think Austria, Germany, they're literally beating people in the streets. They're beating elderly people in the streets for their health and safety. Of course it's for their health and safety.
I happen to more agree with the police officer response because, you know...
Security guard.
Oh, well, the security guard, I was with the police seemed to assist at the end. Well, they assisted at the end because, you know, when you really go into files of psychiatrists, psychologists, and you see, like, the trauma that people face, like 98% of the trauma people face is due to unmasked individuals in indoor spaces. You know what I mean? Like, we used to think it was child molestation, I don't know, domestic abuse, absent fathers, war, I don't know, poverty. And like, well, those minor issues and minor trauma points should perhaps get a little attention. If you're going to show up into a building unmasked, I mean, you know, they talk about killing pedophiles. What do we do with these unmasked people? I mean, maybe worse. I mean, really, truly. I mean, that's crazy. It's like they literally targeted him like he was a security threat, like he was a terrorist. And then it's like that's. But I'm just saying that's where we're at. It's like that's the most serious issue. Is a dude without a mask, and I've still yet to be proven how effective those things really are.
He was sitting there for at least 20 minutes. They said. Literally just
everyone
sitting
was
there
dead
quietly.
around him. Did you see them all dead? Like just everyone was dead, and like you saw like the security guard touched him, he like flew back, and like I'm like I get it, I get the extreme response because clearly he was a threat.
He could have been unvaccinated.
Whoa!
It's possible.
Whoa! Okay, then he was definitely
he might
terrorist.
He might be a self-thinker. That's not
wow.
By the way, I have to say, as the resident Brit, England has dropped all of the mandates, everything. Even on the 24th, they're dropping the final thing, which is even if you test positive, you don't have to isolate.
Really?
England has dropped. England is done.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
England is done.
Out of fears of domestic violence
England
too.
is done. Who would have thought? Who would have thought out of all the Anglo countries, England would have? I thought the US, I thought the USA.
Is that Brexit type thing because they're working independently of the EU?
Well, it's not the whole UK. It's England.
It's England.
Okay.
So,
Scotland and Wales.
But I have a question for you on that. So, because we covered that here. But my assumption was that because Boris Johnson was so, I mean, he was getting so much heat
for the party.
For blatantly disregarding.
Parties.
How can I make these people happy? Dude, let's just remove the restrictions. So it's like
that was so funny, by the way. It was like, baby, I wasn't cheating on you, baby. It was a business interaction, and it was like, you can't just blame like doing the wrong thing on a business. It was mutual. It was transactional. It's like that's literally what he did. It was like, hey, isn't this you partying with like 80 people getting wasted and like probably with escorts? Oh. Yeah. Ooh, yeah, that was one time. No, that was several times, buddy. Yeah.
So, so instead of continuing this conversation, how about we just forget it ever happened, and I'll let you live your life again?
There could have been federal. I don't know if it's considered federal there, but there could have been high magistrate charges, everything brought against people, corruption. I mean,
potentially.
It could have been very bad. They would have been removed. But now they're not breaking any laws. It's all gone.
Yeah. So England is the first country in the Anglosphere that's totally out of it.
So I guess you guys were really lucky that he went off and.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be honest, even before all that was found. England had dropped, like by July, most things had been dropped. And then what happened was in December with the Omicron variant, they brought back the masking in stores and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
But then 5-6 weeks later, they did an about face again. And now, 24th of February, I think that's the date where the very last thing is done. Wow. Which surprised me. I did actually think the USA would. I know some states have been saying for a while But I thought the U.S. as a whole would return to
No, as long as
normalcy
California, New York,
before
and
England.
Well, you also
Michigan
would have
exist.
Yeah, well, you also would have thought that the U.S. would have like stood up like Canada is
Yeah,
by now.
you would have thought, but the U.S. never allowed it to go quite as far. But
True.
it's weird, you know, Canada,
But
Australia,
we're
New
Americans,
Zealand.
damn it.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to think about because also those are Commonwealth countries.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to think the difference between England/the UK and then like Canada, Australia, and New Zealand because some of them are getting more intense in certain ways. And I also wonder if Brexit had some role in it because other European countries they're going harder and harder and more restricted, whereas England is going in the opposite direction.
But not Denmark.
Right.
Isn't Denmark the one that...
Scandinavian countries in general
Yeah.
are also going the way
I've heard it hasn't
the
been so
UK
bad
is.
there in general.
No, Sweden never locked down, never
Yeah.
had a mask mandate.
And
Never
Norway, I
did.
heard, wasn't horrible.
No, not horrible. It was stricter than Sweden, but yeah, they're all Denmark, Sweden, Norway. They're all just like, you know, we're done. They've actually declassified COVID-19 as whatever level they had it at. You know, pandemic, emergency, whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's got the same categorization as the flu and the cold.
Let's go back to
Great.
bringing in rapists from other countries and bringing real threats.
All right, well, on that note, we're going to go to break now. I want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Mobile. So I don't know if you watch this program, you know, I don't have to tell you, there is a full-scale assault on truth and your right to speak it. From YouTube to Spotify, the left is waging a war on free speech with the help of big tech and the U.S. government. But thankfully, there are still some companies that believe in our Constitution. That is why we here at BlazeTV partner with Patriot Mobile. They are America's only Christian conservative cell phone provider. And look, it's 2022, you guys. I don't know if you guys realize this, but it's the same coverage. Everyone uses the same towers. They're using the same towers as all the major carriers. So you're still going to get the same great service. They have plans to fit any budget. They've got a 100% U.S.-based customer support team. They will provide you exceptional customer support. More importantly, it is time to band together. Patriot Mobile shares your values. They support organizations that you support. You go to work every day. You spend all of this time to make money, and you try to give some of that money usually to organizations that are maybe fighting for religious freedom or pro-life organizations. If you're with any other phone carrier, they're taking a portion of your money and donating it to left-leaning causes that you are fighting against. Patriot Mobile stands with you. Please go support them at patriotmobile.com/news. You can get free activation with the offer code NEWS. By the way, they have special discounts for veterans and first responders. Make sure to check them out. patriotmobile.com/news. That is patriotmobile.com/news. All right, while we're on the topic of schools, try this one on for size here, guys. 8th grade students in Connecticut were given a sex ed assignment asking them to pick pizza toppings describing their sexual likes and dislikes. For example, olives stood for, quote, giving oral. This is according to Parents Defending Education, because a bunch of parents from this school district, this is Enfield Public Schools, reached out to their organization about this issue. So you may be wondering, what is the school's defense for such a crazy sex ed assignment for 8th graders? District officials say the assignment was, it was posted by mistake. So I don't know what the clarification is on what they meant by posted by mistake, but it says in the assignment, now that you know this metaphor for sex, let's explore your preferences. Draw and color your favorite type of pizza. What's your favorite style of pizza? Your favorite toppings? What are your pizza no-nos? Now mirror these preferences in relation to sex. Here are some examples. Likes, cheese equals kissing. Olives equals giving oral. So, guys, I just don't know how much more clear I can make it when I say get your kids the hell out of public schools.
Okay, we're canceling our pizza plans after this movie. We were going to go get some pizzas, and now I feel violated. Never going to be able to eat with pizza with a straight face again.
Well, they just say that they sent the wrong document. Oops, it was the wrong document. It's like, well, who the hell was that document for? You said, why was the document there?
It's weird, man.
What grade was that for? I'm not sure. But just to kind of go along with the story, a cute little tweet from a Wisconsin state superintendent of schools. A Wisconsin state representative, a Democrat, of course. She deleted quickly her tweet that said, if parents want to, quote, have a say in their child's education, they should homeschool or pay for private school tuition out of their family budget. just in case you wondered if
glad your show's
Democrats
censored.
hate poor people.
Yeah, I was like, I almost said something, but I'm not going to say it. I was thinking it. You know what I'm thinking.
Yeah, well, we already blew that up earlier.
I'm just saying.
So.
I mean, like, you look at this, and first of all, like, besides getting serious about the fact of, like, yeah, if you don't like where your taxpayer dollars are going, use more of your money to do whatever else you want rather than caring how your money is being spent. But on top of this, there's been a lot of, I don't know, Zuby knows this, there's a lot of mistakes and glitches and errors and accidents and ambient nights and, you know, things happening where there's never really any responsibility for this stuff, where it's like, look, I'd rather have you say one of our teachers put out an assignment, they didn't use discretion, and now we're, you know, explaining to that teacher the levels of what discretion is, and we're setting a new standard of saying, here's the level of where we draw the line with sex, and when we talk to your kids about these sexual things, that we do have informed consent, and we inform you guys on what we're talking about, and you have a chance to look over the curriculum, etc. Like, that kind of stuff is totally fine. I don't have a problem with a teacher not being able to, a school not being able to manage all their teachers. Like, I don't want to get so hard on a school. Like, you always have some crazy teacher putting some weird propaganda into a classroom. But then to say, oh, it was just a mistake.
Yeah,
the mistake was that you didn't take responsibility. And that's what we're tired of the schools. Yeah. And then we get chastised. Parents get beat up publicly if they're upset about their kids, meaning the message is clear. When your kids are under our watch, you have no authority to be the parent. We are their parent. I don't know why people would still have their kids in public school with what's going on like this.
Well, I agree with the general point. In terms of that last sentence, I kind of feel the same way, and sometimes I say the same thing, but I do also understand that for millions of people in this country and many other countries, telling people to just homeschool your kids or put your kids in private school like that is not necessarily reasonable. People have all kinds of different situations, financial, single parent, like there's all kinds of situations.
Yes.
So,
but I think there are a lot of people who are misled as to how much it actually takes to be able to homeschool your children. I think that they're told that it's very hard, it's very expensive, it's very time consuming, and none of those things are true. So I feel like if they were actually given the whole truth about the situation, they would find that it is a lot easier than they think it is, because I think that is a misconception.
I think that's true to a degree. I'm also aware, you know, and I'm a little bit detached from this because I'm from, you know, a well-off family, two-parent family, et cetera. But I know that there's, I don't know, huge rate of single motherhood, for example, single motherhood, inner city. Telling someone like that, you know, it's homeschool your kids, like they might already be working 2 or 3 jobs, they can't afford to have someone else come in and take care of the children. So for people like that, I mean, I also think that if you are going to have public schools, parents shouldn't have to worry about this kind of stuff. Yeah. You know, when I was going to school as a kid, my parents didn't need to worry, oh, they're going to go and turn our children into little communists and teach them about, you know, really inappropriate things or try to get them to change their, like, my parents didn't have to worry about that. Yeah. Parents shouldn't really have to worry about that. And as you pointed out, it's really only a fringe number of teachers who are doing this. I do believe most teachers are decent and decently moral, and they're not trying to indoctrinate kids with all this nonsense.
I wish I could believe that.
Yeah,
I think now
okay.
I'm going to get hate mail.
Okay.
I don't mean every single public school teacher is evil, but I do think that they have infiltrated the school systems to a much larger degree.
Would you say, because I would say that, like what you're saying, I think a lot of teachers are like Americans where they're willfully ignorant in the fact, but I think that they have changed the actual curriculum. And I think that teachers aren't fighting it in terms of, like, I don't think every teacher teaching crazy stuff is crazy. I found that very quickly in education when you pushed back on teachers on the curriculum. They didn't really have answers because they're regurgitating the plan, kind of like doctors giving you medication, and you really question them. They don't know a lot about your disease or what's really going on. But I would kind of agree to both of you guys on that, is like, they've genuinely taken this as an institutional, right? They took over the collegiate level. So then you have who's writing these books, right? And who's writing the curriculum. And these companies are putting this stuff in there. And then you go down not only into that too, but with kids getting reinforced, like on Disney Junior and whatnot, about how race and gender and all these things can be changed. I mean, you have this, like, this fusion of forces between the schools and the entertainment. The parents are tuned out mostly. I do blame a lot of times the parents for at this point, if you're not awake to realize the dangers of letting your kid be educated by the world and by entertainment and the schools, then don't be surprised. Like, I see a comment where it's like, I can't believe my kid came out as non-binary at 8. And you go, well, you raise your kid on an iPad.
Yeah, it's true. But the thing is, it's such a new problem. as well. You know, there's always been weird stuff here and there in the education, but in the thousands, the 90s, the 80s, like parents did. It's amazingly new. Even in higher education. I mean, I graduated university in 2007, and just since then, the amount that higher education, university, the amount it's changed, all this like safe space and trigger warning, like just in 2007, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So it's changed incredibly quickly. Like from an ideological point of view, I like the idea of just blow the whole thing up, like dismantle, right? Like, ideologically, I want to say that, but I also have to kind of like balance it with a notion of like, okay, let's think of all these people's different situations and should they even really have to worry about all this stuff, right? There does need to be some reform and pushback. And I think some of this is happening because I think only recently a lot of parents are actually learning that this stuff is even being put into the curriculum.
Well, I do think it's, I mean, you're completely right that I think that a large number of parents, especially ones who went to the same public schools that they are sending their kids to, they're like, well, it was fine when I went there.
There you go.
Right? They have no idea that it's changed so much. I mean, I went to public school here, and I still, even in, you know, like, I'm in like the middle of white suburbia, right? Like I would never send my kid to the public school system that he is supposed to, that we're zoned to go for, because even like that is just, the things that I've heard are horrible. So
here in Texas, I mean, there's a reason why Southlake, for instance, everyone's like, well, I know about Southlake. Well, you know about Southlake, because Southlake is a very upscale neighborhood with very high income individuals overall. And Southlake is sort of a safe haven of, and it's not just like, oh, they go, it's, you know, rich white area and they don't like minorities. No, what the real fight was because they were one of the first districts in the country to really fight against critical race theory in their district. And that's why there was a push even in those areas to start there, because if they could conquer where you would expect parents to care and have the ability to care and think and oversee your kids because of the one, you know, income household, etc. They started there, and then you saw this push even in like podcasts. They started boosting this podcast called Southlake, which is all about the racism behind not wanting your kids to be indoctrinated. And I mean, like, that's why I mean, no district is safe. No amount of money you can make can keep you away from this ideology. It's like poison. And
by the way, it's in some private schools too. So always make sure you're paying attention to what your children are being taught. We got to take a break. We'll be back. I also think too, like if this was, CNN, the good folks over at CNN, doing amazing, epic levels of journalism over there. They dedicated an entire segment attempting to understand why Joe Rogan is so massively popular. And they actually, the good folks over at CNN, the experts that they are, the journalists they are, they needed an expert to explain why he has a lot of viewers, because as we know, CNN would not themselves be experts on like people having viewership and why someone could be so popular. They actually know nothing about that. Here's that exchange.
Rogan remains wildly popular. So the question is, why?
I've probably spent hundreds of hours listening to Joe Rogan. Yeah, no, easily hundreds of hours.
Gabriel Wisniewski Parks is a research fellow at UNC Greensboro who has studied Rogan's appeal.
What makes him so magnetic to his audience is his very vocal resistance to tribalism. This is somebody who can have on his podcast Ben Shapiro and Alex Jones and have deep and interesting, meaningful conversations with them.